In this video, you'll learn how to work with components and bodies in Fusion 360. In Fusion 360, you can create all of the components of your design in context, and define the mechanical relationships and motion between them, all within a single environment. Let's look at the browser to understand how you can use components to organize your design. A component is a container for design elements like sketches, construction geometry, bodies, origins, and even other components. The top node in the browser is a top-level component that exists by default in every design. Document settings, named views, and joints are always located in this top-level component. You can create as many components within a design as you need. Each component is capable of motion, has its own unique origin and coordinate system, and also has its own timeline. Each component also has a name, number, and description that will display in a parts list. You'll need to use components to organize your design if you plan to use any of the manufacturing or documentation tools in the manufacture and drawing workspaces. It's important to organize your design so that you and anyone you're collaborating with can quickly understand the relationships between components. As a best practice, it's a good idea to first create a new component within your design, activate it, and then begin defining its geometry. Right-click the top-level component and select New Component. You can also access this command on the toolbar from the Create or Assemble panels. Name the new component, and now you're ready to start sketching and creating geometry for that new component. You can also create a new component while you're in a command like Extrude. Activate the command, select the profile you want to extrude, change the operation to New Component, then click OK. Note the new component is created in the browser, and don't forget to change the name to something meaningful. This keeps your design well organized and makes the timeline easier to understand and interact with in complex designs by keeping component-specific changes nested within the component's timeline. In the browser, you can drag one component into another. Notice the assembly icon indicates that this component contains additional components. You can activate any individual child component nested under the parent component, or activate the parent component. You can create joints to define mechanical relationships and motion between components. You can also reuse components within a design. Right-click a component in the browser, select Copy, right-click the parent component where you want the copy to appear, then select Paste. This creates an identical copy of the original component. Note that the components share the same name, except for the :1 and :2 at the end of the name. When you make a change to one copy, the other updates to reflect that change. However, you can position each instance of the component independently. Note that if you choose Paste New instead of Paste, an identical copy is created, but it is not linked to the original. When you make a change to one copy, the other does not update to reflect the change. You might also have an external design that you want to reference as a component in your current design. To do this, in the Data panel, navigate to the design you want to reference. Right-click the design and select Insert into Current Design. Use the manipulator, or adjust the settings in the Move Copy dialog to position the component, then click OK. Notice that the inserted design displays as a component in the browser. The link icon indicates that it is an external reference, or XREF for short. The inserted design is now listed in the Uses section for the current design, and the current design is now listed in the Used In section for the inserted design. If you or a collaborator open the inserted design, make a change, and save it, the current design will display a warning symbol over the component in the browser and in the application bar, indicating that the XREF is out of date. Right-click the component and select Get Updates, or click the icon in the application bar, and you'll see the latest changes. If you right-click and select Break Link, the component is inserted directly into the design and the link between the two designs is severed. Now let's introduce bodies. A body is a single container for a contiguous 3D shape. This could be a simple primitive like a box, cylinder, or sphere, or a more complex 3D shape. If you split a single body, it becomes two bodies, because the original 3D shape is no longer contiguous. Each body is contained within a component, whether it's located in the top-level component or one that you created intentionally. Each component can contain multiple bodies, but note that you cannot create joints or motion between them. There are a few things that you should consider when creating bodies. Before you modify a body, make sure you activate its component first. Consider hiding other components when you modify a body to avoid creating unnecessary relationships between bodies across different components. If you copy and paste a body, each copy remains independent. Changes you make to one body will not affect the other. Bodies do not display in drawings or in a bill of materials. And if your design requires motion between components, it's best to create components first, then create bodies within their respective components from the start. Now, if you've already created a body in the top-level component, you can create a new component later by right-clicking the body and selecting Create Components from Bodies. But the tools and operations you used to create the original body remain in the top-level component and are still associated with its timeline. This can make the timeline difficult to understand and interact with as you evolve your design. If you activate the component now, its timeline only contains this body-to-component operation. The history doesn't come along with it. This is why it's considered best practice to create a new component first, name it, activate it, and then start designing. Now you know how to organize your design using components and bodies in Fusion 360. Thanks for watching.